G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati, the Sailing Podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the microphone with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, Exalted One.
BP, how excited are you, my friend?
Oh, well, hello world firstly.
Yes.
Hello world.
We'll come back to it.
The sun was out in Sydney today, so I'm very excited.
Fair enough.
Well, it did rain this morning, and then it rained this afternoon, and then it rained just before that, a little bit after that. But the sun was out a bit.
So it's the first time in 50 days or something, isn't it?
Well, yes, and also yesterday it was recorded that we've already had our annual yearly rainfall in Sydney. It's unbelievable.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, and thoughts go out to the flood victims and flood people at all times.
Yeah,
so
tough times, isn't it?
Thoughts are with you, yeah.
Let's bring in the other bloke.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
Oh, g'day, guys.
Hey, hang on. Who's that? Who's that bloke?
You don't sound like Nick Bice.
No, I'm Bicey's stand-in for today. He's been called off, so thanks for having me on, guys, as a last-minute addition to the team.
Mate, I love this.
Hey.
This is so exciting. The man that has been mentioned more times than any other sailor on the show in the whole world is joining us.
It's fitting that he's now the third member, while
That's
the
right.
other member's not all. Yeah.
I love it. And you know what? The beauty of this. So first off, Kyle Langford, the great man. Welcome to the show, mate. We're so excited to speak to you again, as we always are.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. I've been badgering you guys to get back on and try and steer the conversation slightly away from me breaking stuff. I've had a pretty good run in the last little while. Not too much damage, but maybe, a couple of things we can talk about. But, just trying to deflect and maybe put a bit of that, give that name tag to Tom Slingsby maybe.
Oh, there we go. Bit of banter. Throw it in there.
Hand grenades would start coming out. So Slingers is the breaker. He's the gear. Is it, the fiery redhead thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to make a career in, and this is what, Simon Daubney taught us, that, if you want to make a career in the America's Cup, really what you've got to do is be good at deflecting. So, when the heat comes onto you, you need to be able to offload and, spread the heat amongst the team. So, for sure, I'm going to give some to Slingsby. There's plenty of stuff we can talk about. We capsized in San Francisco. We had a couple issues on Comanche a couple of months ago, blowing out an A3. So, he's going to hate me for saying this, but, you just got to spread the load a little bit with your teammates.
So, what I'm hearing is that you guys have been carrying Slingers.
I mean, it's not often talked about. No. I mean, particularly with the SailGP, we've got such a strong team, and I think that's really our biggest asset is more than one person. Is that we've just got a group of guys, and not only is everybody on the boat individually great sailors, but they're also really good blokes, and we've been sailing together for over 10 years now. This squad, and I think we really complement each other in different ways around the race course, and also when we got off the water, we can go from being professional to quickly turning it off, and the banter and the smack talking starts, and we have a good time aside from sailing, and I think it's a really nice balance. So I think I don't want to Tom's a bloody awesome sailor, but I think also the rest of the guys on the team and girls deserve a lot of credit.
Absolutely. Well, we haven't spoken to you since the last event, and so I mean, well done is there for sure. But did you enjoy it? Was it a fun season?
Yeah, I mean, the season was great. I mean, it was really disappointing the last day that we just didn't get the typical San Francisco weather. That's the reason why the final was there, because if we remember back to season 1 in 2019, we're in Marseille and there was no wind, and typically that time of year you don't really get the Mistral. And and the last day was a bit of a shit show. And we were lucky to get a race in, and so they kind of said, let's go to San Francisco. The weather's always good. We had 10 days of training. The weather was just epic, and sure enough, the sound signal goes for the first race, and the brief turns to shit. So unfortunately, it wasn't probably the finale that everybody wanted, and also not that we wanted as well. But we were pretty stoked to win the season on points and also win the final race. So it kind of went went to plan, and maybe not in the fashion that we would have liked, but we got there in the end.
Win's a win.
It was surreal,
yeah, exactly. We'll take it.
It was surreal, like that whole thing.
Well, you were there, so you were experiencing it firsthand.
Yeah. No, I was there. Look, one thing I want to say, just you talked about how tight the team is. One, that's super noticeable. Like when I'm roaming around the tech base, you guys are always up for cracking jokes. A lot of guys are, like, everyone's a lot of really open guys, but like, it's guys I'm really close with or something like that. But the whole Aussie team is up for cracking jokes. You guys seem super relaxed. So as a group, like, it's really cool. The Kiwi team is, but I feel like I don't want to go in there and disturb them too much. I know the guys pretty well, but I don't want to go in there. But you guys, I feel like I can sort of have a laugh, or you'll always, you'll burn me as I'm talking to some VIP as you walk past, sort of thing. So you guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just comes from being comfortable in the boats and comfortable within the team and the environment that we're in. And the Kiwis, for sure, they're a really tight group and also really talented sailing team, but they're somewhat new to the SailGP, and the F50s are quite different to the AC50s in Bermuda. So I think that they're still maybe coming to grips with the boats and the circuit, and whereas I guess with our team we just feel pretty relaxed and kind of at home in the SailGP environment, and we know the deal with the events, and having people through the base, and having to giving people the time of day, and it's just nice now. We know the setup, and we feel comfortable with it.
Do you think the Kiwis would go better if they threw the rugby ball around less and sailed more?
Yeah, I actually saw a video of Pete and Blair off kicking rugby balls the other day down in New Zealand with Dan Carter, I think it was. And I mean, it's a good thing they're good at sailing.
The other question I need to, because we don't want to blow that Aussie team up before BP gets going, is, but I'm very aware that we haven't interviewed Kinley, and we've gone to you for your second go. Like, is that going to cause a ruckus?
I mean, to be honest, Kinley's a little bit butthurt about that. We have a group chat, and Kinley, he's the 5-time M32 world champion, hasn't lost a race or hasn't lost an M32 event in 30 events or something. They're smashing it in that, and he just wants to get on and talk about that. Okay. And you guys just keep cutting him out. So I mean, he's got to make the cut at some point.
So I mean, bar karate must be major topic at each event. You must get. I mean, there must be the meeting you have about the team and the sailing, and then you must be a section devoted to bar karate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's on the debrief list. We debriefed Sam's interview from a couple of weeks ago, and and I've also got to say, he was blaming me for a bit of insider knowledge that got passed on to you guys, and I've got to say, officially, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
He's blaming me for Frank the Tank, who was out in San Francisco, but it wasn't me who tipped you guys off about that. No. So of course, I think a lot of people listen to the show, and I think it's it's good. From all walks of sailing, really.
Well, just before we go, we'll get into SailGP a big bit, but obviously Nick, the one POM in the team. Can we talk about Nick? Like, I think he's gone over to the British team next year. Is that true? That's the rumour I've heard? Can we talk about that at all or not?
Yeah, we can talk about that. Nick's left us. He had enough of getting bagged out. He was the one that stood out, being the only POM on the boat. So we were constantly giving him a hard time, and he's had enough of it. So he's going back to the Brits next year. And so we'll have Ed Powies on the team, who's also another Brit.
So I'm going to say,
but he's also
go on.
But he's also got an Australian passport, so he's a half Aussie, half Brit. So yeah, he'll be the one copping it, but he's half Aussie, so he's got thick skin.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just wanted to get that out there, just so we know. Like, we hadn't forgotten Nick in our debates, but I just know that he's gone to the British SailGP team, and not much comes out of them, I think, at the moment. With Barkarati, so we're just got to be careful there. Don't want to upset them. All right. Last race, right? BP, jump in if you want to throw any observations, but I've probably got a few more observations because I was there. Last race was crazy. No one knew where the start was, like, because
well, you did. You said it was underneath the bridge somewhere.
Yeah, the start line was gone. Did you guys notice where that was?
We were told on the comms just before the start that there was going to be a rib for the pin end because the marks were drifting in the tide there.
Yeah.
And so we quickly knew to disregard the starting software, that wasn't going to be of any relevance because they've got GPS positions on the marks.
Yeah.
And then it's quite sophisticated starting software. And it actually makes starting somewhat easy because it gives you time to kill, like on a normal boat, but then it's also quite graphical. There's a bird's eye view of the boat, and there's basically a black zone which will catch up to the boat, and that's basically when that black line catches the boat in the bird's eye view picture, it basically means you're racing. So you're basically, it's almost like a computer game in a way. You can kind of zone in on the screen, wait for that black line to catch you, and then you pull the trigger and you're off. And it's surprisingly accurate, considering the boats are going from non-foiling to foiling, and and also factoring the tide in San Francisco. And so, you're really focused on that. And, when we saw that when we heard that that was going to be no good, we just had to do it old school and just eyeball it. So that was a bit of fun just to mix up the starting a little bit.
I love it. Before I'm dominating here, BP, I apologise because I'm trying to get to one point.
I'm used to it, man.
Sorry, bud. It was a really weird day, obviously, because that last day the wind was coming offshore. Normally it runs down the harbour, but it was coming over the hills, and so it was super patchy and little lines everywhere, and it was really starting to drop out. We'd had the whale watch thing, and then there were little sort of bullets just floating there. And at the start, you could see quite clearly. Well, I could see it. I figured you guys saw it too. There was like a little line down the leeward end or the pin end of a little line of pressure, and you guys went for the leeward end. And I just wondered if you guys saw that. That was the strategy. You had your heads out of your boat more than the others, or because everyone's a top level sailor. So I'm just intrigued what the strategy was.
The 3-boat match race or fleet race, or however you want to put it, is pretty difficult because typically in the start 2 boats will engage and they'll kind of screw each other, and our goal is always to be the one that's out of sync. And we know that Jimmy is always going to engage. He'll take you out if he can, and so we wanted to stay away from Jimmy, and we know that Nate doesn't like to engage. And so as soon as we saw Japan and the USA quite close to each other, we thought, okay, this is our chance to kind of, be free and be clean. And, obviously looking at the line, we're like, oh shit, it's quite light here. We need to get going quite early. And so we were just focused on getting on the foil and getting up. And really that is more the key, to the starters, particularly in that marginal stuff, is just getting on the foil. And fortunately, we got that little puff after the gun and got up, and those guys were parked. So, we're maybe a little bit lucky, but, our kind of strategy was always just to stay away from the other boats, get on the foil early, because the takeoff with the high-speed boards and the high-speed rudders is pretty laboured. So we were just doing everything we can to stay away from those guys and get the boat going quickly.
Crazy. It was crazy. Go on, BP.
I was just going to say, look, and it's one of those things. You get that little break and you get going and you think, yeah, this is going to be great, and then there's another park up and they come at you. The rubber band effect continues, just even in this race, in this racing, and they caught right up again, and then you took off again, and it was pretty cool to watch actually. As a sailor, you probably appreciated it more than the general public would have. But it was pretty exciting.
Absolutely, it was.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a real shame the chopper ran out of fuel. So because there was so many delays, the chopper was out of fuel. So the last race, the televised product, was just all onboard footage. So unfortunately, it probably wasn't the product that was, that they were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Getting the perspectives.
Can I ask what? I mean, excuse my ignorance. Why do they use a chopper? Why aren't they droning?
That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer. I remember asking Stan Honey years ago, and this must have been after the 2013 America's Cup when they introduced this live line technology. And I remember him saying that the cameras that they use on the choppers, they would need a monster drone to carry those things.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, to get the quality, and also something about the GPS positioning, because you can see sometimes on the live line, you can see the boundaries flickering a little bit, and I believe that's from a poor GPS signal. I could be wrong, but
that makes sense.
So
I didn't think of that way with the track on the screen. Yeah, but that would probably
So I think that's the issue, and so I don't know. We aren't really involved or even see any of the television production at these events. And the chopper's, based miles away from where we are, so we don't actually see any of it. But I would imagine that the technology's improved a bit, and maybe the drones are coming in the near future.
Well, I was just going to say that I guess the technology's improving every event. You're getting some form of upgrade or some form of new software to play with. You'd think they'd be thinking about it. What with the the call for events like SailGP to be as green as possible. It's you'd think it'd be going down that path, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that the television production is really the focus of SailGP. That's all I would say that's all they care about. But that's a big thing. And I know a lot of sailors, myself included, at times think, why would you have a whole season that comes down to one race? Why would you have a weekend that comes down to one race? Sailing's about consistency and blah blah blah. And and I've actually come around a little bit on this, and I think it actually is good for the sport to have just a one race showdown. And maybe I'd be changing my tune if we hadn't won the thing twice.
I was going to say, you've won it twice.
Yeah, but I mean, I think those big pressure races are what really, it makes your heart pump for sure. When you're lining up for one of those races, and that the whole season's on the line, and also $1 million is on the line. And I think for a non-sailor to come in and be like, oh shit, this is all coming down to this one race, but they've been sailing in 10 different countries, all over the world for a whole year, and it's just coming down to this. Like, I think it attracts a new viewer, and I think that's where the television's important, to be able to, make non-sailors understand what sailing is about and what it can be.
No question there. I think it's brought a massive new audience in. We've already discussed this, that's a fact.
I got a message from one of my basketball mates from 30 years ago. He's just
did you?
Going, oh man, my kids are because I put a few photos up at SailGP, and he's going, oh, my kids are into this so much, and I'm just going, how? Like I wouldn't have thought they'd get to know anything about sailing. It would be all basketball on their TV, and so maybe it's bringing them in. It's good, it's happening.
Yeah, but then they go down to the local club, and where's one of those boats? I want to go on one of them.
It's coming, mate.
No, there's yours over there. What's that? Well, that's a Sabo.
Yeah.
Get in it.
Yeah. It is interesting, isn't it? That I do think I want to ask about the whole data sharing thing. Like one of the things with the TV show, because SailGP is a TV show, right, is that it's really clever. It worked really well with the Volvo, with the identical boats. You live the Volvo experience, and how exciting it was, and how much the punters got into it. And now with SailGP, by sharing information, there's a lot of lead changes, a lot of boats going fast. You can't sort of get any big secrets. Australia, how do they feel about that?
I think we hate it, actually. All the data sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Particularly, in San Francisco.
Yep. Here we go. Yep.
There was a bit of tension,
Yep.
At one point, because, we have rudder differential. So the leeward rudder is lifting more than the windward one. And at times the windward rudder is creating up to 1 ton of downforce, which is sucking the windward hull into the water. And that's what really is your biggest performance driver is more riding moment, basically. And so we kind of discovered something with the rudders, and we're digging through the data and trying to figure out the differences between our team and the other teams. And then we went and asked the data analysts for a clarification on how they measure something. And that was really just a question for us to improve our understanding of how it's measured. And anyway, we learned something from it. And then, the next day, the data team decided to publish our question, and just give all that information to the rest of the teams. And we were just like, come on, you can't, there's no hiding really, whatever you're doing on the water, people will see it. And, we were just hoping to kind of keep that one up our sleeve a little bit for another couple of days, going into the racing. And we saw that as an advantage. And, not only was it in the data, but it was pointed out so the other teams could go and see it. So that was a little frustrating. But, I think because we are comfortable sailing these boats and, we've done it for some time, we're really trying to push ourselves to try new things and find new settings and find some more performance. And I think it's a good thing for the class and for the series that if somebody discovers something that's better, then straight away everybody can copy and get better. So it's it's good if you're doing the chasing, not so good if you're the one kind of pushing and trying to find new ways of doing things. And because the other teams will just have access to that when they get in from the water at the end of the day.
Yep, that was very evident in San Fran. It was just that conversation was flying around everywhere. We all knew about it, so I could understand the frustration because everyone was talking about how quick you guys were going. So, BP, I don't know if I've discussed this with you, I think a bit, Bud, but the thing that I notice is that the more stable the platform, which it comes from actual raw sailors, the way you sail the boat, the more stable the platform, the more stable the rig in the air, the better the boats are going. That's the one differential where you can't pick that up with data. You can't train that out. You just have to sail the boat better. And
the actual sailing side of it.
The actual sailing side of it, it's obvious. The boats that sail their platforms a lot more stable are doing the best. So you guys, I don't know, Kyle, if you have a view on that, but to my eye, you guys are always rock solid. I think the Great British team does an amazing job as well, and they're getting better. I think the Kiwi team's about to pick it up a little bit. But, I think Nathan has when you get a change of crew, you really see it on Nathan's boat a lot. He goes from being really good and then he has a little bit of a jig as whoever it is trying to settle in, and then you guys have an advantage. Is that a fair statement, or is that just me being an idiot?
No, I actually agree 100%. I think
he's an idiot. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, mate. I couldn't help myself for that one.
Well done.
Yeah, that was a layup. No, yeah, I agree, idiot. And then also, I think probably the advantages a couple of teams have is that in the 35th America's Cup in Bermuda, Slingers did quite a bit of driving and he was flying the boat from the wheel. Jimmy did, Nathan did, and Ben did. So I think straight up those skippers have got quite an advantage over the new guys coming in because they feel comfortable flying the boat from the wheel and steering at the same time. And so I think in the maneuvers that gives them an edge. And then I think really our biggest asset to our team is Jason Waterhouse on the flight controller. And I mean, it's a really unique position because there's nothing in sailing that there's no other boat in the world that you can sail which will make you a better flight controller other than sailing an F50. And even the simulator, the guys that go to the simulator say that it's, I actually haven't been, but the feedback I've heard is it's not quite, it's not quite there. That the physics don't quite line up.
You don't.
That doesn't quite line up with the reality. So one of the big things that we look in the data is the standard deviation of the ride height, and that's basically how much movement we're the variation of our flight height And Jason is without doubt probably 200 mil, less deviation on the ride height than any other team every single day. And so we're able to fly the boat higher, which is less drag, less foil in the water, and which is more riding moment. And it also opens up the angle of the foil, which is less drag. And we're able to do that more consistently than any other team out there. And one thing we really noticed and that's the thing that really sticks out in the data, is because you look at the plots from each day of sailing, and we've got a straight line at the bottom of the page, and everybody else is scattered all over the place. And one thing we noticed in San Francisco is the Americans were really trying to push it to our ride height, and as a result, they were out of control, and it just takes a lot of time. And I don't know how Jace does it, and I think it's just a really good understanding of how the foils work and how the boat reacts in certain waves, and he goes between looking at the foil and looking at the bow, and to try and predict what the next movement is. And I mean, I 100% wouldn't even want to do that job. It's bloody hard. And he finishes a race, and his first question is like, "Oh, how'd we go?" And then
Wow.
and then his next question he's like, "Oh yeah, did the boat feel okay?" Because he's just so locked in and just using 100% of his bandwidth just to fly the boat, on the edge. And and also the fact that you can't train it. There's no other boat out there that teaches you. It's pretty impressive.
Do you think that obviously he's zoned in, as you say, he's absolutely in the zone. Do you think that that is an element also of, as we discussed a second ago, that it comes down to the sailing ability of the people on board as well? Because there's an element of that. You couldn't fly, as you said, with the Americans, they were trying to fly as high as you were, but they were all over the place and out of control. There has to be an element of the wing controller and the helmsman and other factors that come into that to make that job easier. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, it's kind of like having a loose forestay and a tight rig. You're always battling.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, of course, the wing trimmer is the most important person on board. We don't want to understate that.
I had to let you in there. Sorry, Kyle, but
yeah, thanks, man. We don't want to understate that. And you're exactly right. You can look at the data and you can be like, okay, they're doing this, but to go out and actually do it yourself, it just takes time and skill, I guess. Thinking about the flight controller position, you're like, oh, they're flying higher, let's just fly higher. But it's not that simple.
It's not like that. Yeah, well, you've got helm response, you've got wing trim response, you've got all sorts of things. I mean, there's a whole heap of factors that take into it, and it's a matter of finding that balance, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing, I'm talking up Jace a lot, but Jace did a bit of trimming of the wing with Team Japan, so he also understands how, when you're twisting the wing and how you're trimming it, how that's pitching the boat and how that would affect his ride height. Yeah. And so, I think having a very big global understanding of the forces and the physics of the boats really helps each individual position, and sail at a high level and really locked in. So I think, understanding the physics of sailing is so important in this circuit, because my role trimming the wing really affects his role of flight controller and Tom driving and
vice
so on.
versa.
So,
yeah.
Exactly.
What about Tom's driving? I mean, how does his steering sort of, I guess, not override, but actually can sort of keep the boat doing what it's doing? I mean, it must have to have a lot to do with where the rudders are as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tom would, he'll be the first to say it. These boats are easy to drive. And he, and just comparatively to Bermuda, when, they were flying the boat and driving at the same time. And also, the first event of the first year they were doing that. And so now all he has to do is drive. But typically, when you bear away, it'll drive the bow down. And when you turn up, it'll lift the bow, fundamentally. So he's kind of always, helping out a little bit with the flight control or with the flight height with his driving. And then also making sure we've got enough rudders in the water. Because obviously the higher you fly, the less rudder you have in the water. And we're just always trying to find that limit of the least amount of wetted surface area as possible. And, and he's got a really good feel for that. And so he has the rudder controls at his feet. He has some foot buttons. And so he's constantly changing and trimming that. And whether we're in a high mode or a fast mode or whatever mode, he's always adjusting those rudders, the lift as well as the driving around it.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. But hang on, Jay, just before you go on, what is your role going to be on the Barcarati SailGP boat next season? Are you in?
Well, mate, I'm not a ginger, proudly. So I obviously can't join the challenge, but it's actually news to me that you've got the Barcarati team. So
yeah, no, it's new.
I'm happy to trial in any position, mate.
Okay. Hey, actually, speaking of, we just talked Jace up big time, right? Genuine question. Obviously, he's nailing that gig, right? When he turned up to San Fran with that moustache, was there any debate amongst the team to drop him?
No, well, actually, we had a call maybe a week before, and and he put his webcam on. I was like, oh wow, and he was like, what do you think, mate? And I said, I bloody love it, mate. He's like, should I keep it for San Fran? I was like, 100%. So his new nickname's Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
And it went down pretty nicely in San Francisco as well. So he was happy to please the locals there.
He really sort of tried to blend right in. He went full bore. It was hilarious. But no, I just wondered if you sort of doubted his sanity a little bit. But that's cool.
He's a beauty, Jason Waterhouse. He's a beauty.
But what was more concerning is he said the missus loved it.
Oh, she's a good lass though. He's married very well, so she's always positive, that girl, and so she's obviously not quite there in the head, marrying Jace and saying she loved that, but she's one of those good lasses. You can do pretty much whatever you want and she's happy, so.
Yeah, he's punching for sure.
He's punching. We gotta ask with the capsize, whose fault was that? Was that the powerboat that got in the way? Was it the wing foiler that got in the way, or was it on board?
It's actually, so we call that maneuver a Dino. Tack bear away.
Yeah.
From the American Magic tack bear away, and which is probably a bit harsh, to be honest. And anyway, so this was 2 days before racing, and we said before we went out that day, we're like, okay, let's go out and have a good day. The training's been going really, really well. We've been ticking. We've been very targeted with our training. We feel like we're kicking goals, we're getting better. We said, let's just go out there and just, keep it safe, preserve the assets. And then sure enough, we're like, okay, let's just go out and do another run. And and then, Slinger was like, Dino. So I run across the boat. We're a little bit under target. It's getting quite windy, and we go for the maneuver. And it was really just a combination of errors, probably between myself, Slingers, and Jason. And there wasn't really one thing that went wrong. It was just a lot of very small things. For example, one of them was I let the board up a little bit too early. And when you press the board up, it rakes aft. And so as the board starts coming up, it's raking aft and giving the new windward side a lot of heel. And then so then that's kicking in a lot of heel. And typically at that point, Slingers would usually slow the turn down a little bit. And, but he's like, oh, okay, the safest spot here is probably down. And so he whipped it down and, and the nose buried. And also Jason called max rake, which is, we never want to hit max rake in that maneuver because we always want to have a little bit of margin just to pop the leeward hull up a little bit more. So there was just really three things that kind of drove us into that capsize. And so it was a bit of a shocker. I think the bill for the wing would be, well, I don't know, the SailGP guys, the tech team, they do the repair for us because we've only got a small shore team, on site. And so the tech team jumps in and gives a hand, and then they just send a massive bill to the team. So it'll be a couple of $100,000 to fix the wing.
Wow. Lucky you won the regatta.
Yes, I mean, it was lucky that we even made it out for the first day of racing, to be honest. Those guys, they did an all-nighter or two all-nighters pretty much to get the thing fixed. And, the thing was basically a write-off, a couple of the flaps, but they managed to get it back together and we got out there. So that was a big relief.
Wow. So the whole thing with the money, mate, you don't have to tell us anything, but we get asked. I get asked all the time how the money splits up. But is Is it a big deal to you guys, that sort of money? Because you get prize money at each event, you know. Like, how, is it just? It must be a bit of a big deal, or is it just go to Slingsby and he buys another house in Lake Macquarie?
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. No, I mean, we still haven't discussed the division of the prize money for this event, but I think it's going to be a good bonus for everybody. So, it's split amongst the team and the shore team as well. So it's it's nice that everybody gets rewarded for their hard work and gets a bit of a bonus at the end of the year.
Then the other one, of course, is you can tell the time pretty specially these days as well. So that was a good one as well.
Yeah, no, that was very nice to get a Rolex. That was a surprise to all of us. We've been on to them at every event, because before if you win an event and you go on stage, to get the trophy, they always say to you, "Oh, take off any watch that's not a Rolex."
Yeah.
And we're always like, "Oh well, yeah,
give us one and we'll wear one."
Of course, I've got a Rolex, And so it was a nice little bonus that they actually put something on there rather than telling us to take off the Garmin.
Yeah. It's super cool. So you got the Garmin plug in, so that was nice. That was clever. You've done it all. It was a good one. What about the other teams? How do they? I heard you guys celebrating. Obviously, I saw all the celebrations. Everyone was pretty pumped for you. Everyone was pretty intense, because it's a big deal. How are the other teams? They all good about it, or they just like, shit? I suppose there's only two that could.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, they're obviously disappointed, but, we kind of went into the day and thinking we're like, we know this is going to be tough. And also, it's a massive gamble as well to have the whole season come down to one race. And we're like, okay, shit, it might not go our way. And we need to be, of course we're confident in ourselves, but there's also a lot of variables. You look at Jimmy getting, the Spanish just took him out. So, that could have been his season over, through no fault of anybody being a bit reckless. And so, we kind of had mentally prepared ourselves that, it's going to go anyway. And I think the other teams were probably in a similar position. So, of course, we're stoked to win. They're disappointed to lose, but I think that everybody probably went in with the mindset that, there's probably a greater chance of losing than winning.
You probably need the money more than anyone, but the food bill for your child, mate.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's my child. He's got my genetics, so he's just hoovers the food, just like me.
BP,
you got any more on the SailGP stuff? I want to sort of ask a couple of other things.
I think next year is obviously looking bigger and better. It's more teams are getting more and more interest, and when it's 10 teams next year, I believe. So it's going to be, and more events. I think it's a good format. It's going to be over the next couple of years. I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger. Is that the general consensus amongst the entire teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually a good credit to SailGP, that there are new teams wanting to enter and privately funded teams who are willing to, front up with the money, to fund themselves. Because when it all started, I think it was 6 teams in the first year, and we're all funded by Larry. Mm-hmm. And and there was, I guess, people were very skeptical as to whether the circuit will take off. And sure enough, there's been more and more sponsorship coming in for the events, and with the introduction of prize money at each event and title sponsors, and each team has been growing, and companies and people from outside the sailing world are wanting to get involved. I think is a great thing, and from what I understand, they don't want to stop until they've got 20 boats on the start line. So it's I can see it really growing, and unfortunately the courses aren't getting any bigger, and there's getting more boats. So there's definitely going to be a lot more crashes and a lot more action. So it's going to be. I think it's just going to get better and better.
The interesting thing I thought about, Kyle, and you've probably got a good idea on this. I was thinking about it from the Volvo perspective, like with the trying to come up with the next generation of boat for the Volvo, right? And that's what sort of killed the Volvo a bit at the moment. And I was thinking, how's SailGP going to go through this phase? But it never has to, because that platform doesn't really need to change, because it's about the foil and the wing, and they're always being upgraded and updated. So it really doesn't it's not going to get outmoded, like that platform that you sail on, that could be the platform forever, like it's because as long as you do the foil update and the wing update, she's ongoing. It doesn't have that risk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the great thing about it is they kind of are staying on the, I think they're never going to match the America's Cup in terms of the technology that goes into it, because you simply don't have the resources to spend, 200 million or, plus per team to develop and go off in all these different directions. It's just one decision is made for the fleet. And so this year we got new wings. I think by the middle of the season or late end of the next season, we'll have new foils, T-foils, which will be a pretty significant performance upgrade.
Wow.
And then what makes it exciting for the sailors is that, we do have new equipment coming all the time, so it doesn't get stale. And personally, the thing I love most about sailing is the development. I probably prefer that over racing almost, which is crazy to some people, but that's what I really enjoy. And I think the fact that the boats are developing and, and we're going to have to boats as the T-foils are introduced, and it's going to change massively. So I think it's good because it kind of gives new teams a level playing field, because suddenly the boats aren't a copy of what they were in Bermuda. And and then it makes it fun for maybe the more established teams to try and figure out how you can make the equipment work.
Yeah, it's cool because you're sort of like when you look at what you're doing, you've got mastery across a lot of this stuff because you're doing the wing foiling now, right? So, and I know you've got the latest gear going on there. So you're doing the moth stuff. So you're seeing all the new ideas there. Obviously using the wing and trimming wings, and you're there for foil development. You're all seeing all that, and you've got a business in Sweden now called Seagull Sails, where that's like you're right there. You're able to sort of refine and test everything. It must be you must be the most all-round sailor on the planet now. Can you make that claim?
Well, firstly, Jordan, thanks for finally plugging Seagull Sails. I've been badging you about this for ages, mate.
Go on.
And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a master in any of these things, particularly the wing foiling, but it is a good challenge, and it's something new. And the great thing about wing foiling, for anyone that hasn't tried it, I strongly suggest you do, because it's actually quite easy. Once it's almost like riding a bike. Once you can kind of figure it out, how to stand on the foil and then get up and control the wing, you're off. And then the progression from there is, it's huge. So, it's a great sport, and it doesn't take up a lot of space, like kiting or even sailing, to be honest. Yeah. Relatively cheap. And so, that's a good sport, and I think it kind of, if you are into foiling, it kind of complements and gives you a bit of more of an understanding and broadens your understanding on everything. So, I love it for the, I guess, kind of cross training and also just a bit of fun. And more importantly, Seagull Sails.
Yep.
That's started a business. Would have been during COVID with a couple of mates. I live in Sweden with my. There's a couple of expats there as well, so we started and it kind of came about because we got this the local sailing club. They had an old sewing machine that didn't work, and so we said, "Oh, can we take it?" And they're like, yeah, no worries. And so we pulled the motor apart, adjusted the clutch plates, and then we had a, perfect sewing machine. And so we put it in my garage, and we started making stuff. And in the lead up to the Moth Worlds, I've been working with Doyle Sails, with the moth development. And so Luke Malloy in Palmer was sending up moth sails, and we'd have a chat over the phone and be like, okay, maybe we can try this. And I'm not a sail maker, but just recut my own moth sails and started to learn a bit about it, and got a lot of interest in it. Like, I think it's fascinating how you can do a 1 or 2 mil change, and how much of a difference it makes, and to be able to do it yourself, and rather than having to go off to a loft somewhere, and and I guess with professional sailing, you're very spoilt. with the resources that you have on tap. Typically most teams will have a sail maker and a boat builder, and so you'll come in from sailing and you'll say, oh, we want to change this, and it will be done tomorrow. Whereas I've learned that's not how the real world works.
No.
You drop something off to a sail maker and he says, oh, you can have it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's, that doesn't work for me. So, the best way is just to do it yourself and upskill at the same time. So, we've been kind of modifying moth sails and doing the development with that and building some bags and really just to upskill on the machine and just learn another skill that, which is applicable to my profession in sailing.
So there you go. The Seagull Sails. Did you have to think long and hard about that name?
No, it came pretty quickly. It was actually Keith Swinton, a good mate of mine who came up with it. And not only is it relevant because my nickname's the Seagull, but the other one is that there's a local loft in Sweden called Albatross Sails.
Oh.
And we're just the shit version of Albatross. So it's got a slight double meaning.
I love it. So look at that. So the Albatross Sails hasn't got plugged worldwide, mate. So you're good. Well, you just did actually. You kind of did give them a plug.
Yeah. Hey, what's the website? What's your website? What is it? www.seagullsales. What is it?
Seagullsales.com, mate.
There you go.
Yeah. Love it.
Check it out.
Love it.
Good one.
Hey, BP, we got a few questions because, Kyle, you don't just sail GP and moths. You go offshore. Obviously, the ocean race a few times, and you've been known to travel the planet on the Comanche. And there's some stories going around. Comanche is being sold, and it's coming back to an Australian owner. Can we throw questions at you?
Yeah, sure. Problem. Ask what you will.
Were you included in the asset register of Comanche?
I was not.
Well, I had a little theory. I was just sort of thinking about, what to talk about tonight because this has sort of all happened quite quickly. And I've got a little theory. You've been involved with the boat for a long, long time. Now, when you get on any sort of professional boat like this and at the elite level of professionalism is you get yourself a set of wet weather gear and you have your name on the back. So I'm thinking that you absolutely on purpose leave your wet weather gear on the boat. And when the boat gets sold, they go through the gear and they go, who's this bloke? Oh, this is Langford's. Oh, bloody hell, the gear's still here. So you're still on the boat. So I'm suggesting that's the way you're doing it.
I mean, I'm hoping that's the case, but I think if you're buying Comanche, you may be able to afford to get a couple of shirts and jackets rebranded. But maybe that's hopefully that's the case. We'll find out in a couple of months' time.
Okay, so
I'm sure you'll get an invite, mate.
Yeah, well, you'd be mad not to. Let's be honest. You're going to want to keep some core elements of the crew. How do you feel about going on and doing the Hobart with a bunch of young 18-foot skiff hoons?
You must know more about it than I do, mate.
Come on. Well, no, fair enough. I'm not going to let you burn yourself. No, well, so who bought it then?
I've heard some strong rumours, but no comment.
We told everyone last week. All right. So
it's huge. It's huge talking point. I mean, I think all this week we've been talking about it down the Palace.
Do you reckon they'll rename the boat?
Possibly. Oh, I hope not.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested. I just suddenly thought because there's a long tradition of names in that family. And the Comanche, everyone's used to calling that boat the Comanche. I was just suddenly wondered if,
Yandu.
Yeah, a Yandu would suddenly pop up on the Comanche or a Yandu Comanche or the appliances online Comanche. I don't know what's going to pop up. No comment.
I mean, you might know more than you. It sounds like you guys know a lot more than I do.
We don't know anything. We just ramble on about crap most of the time.
Dear.
I mean, I think if it is coming to Sydney, I mean, I think that's just so good for sailing in Sydney. You know, to have 5, maxis back in Australia, and all the boats really well raced, and Blackjack's on form, and so to have Comanche lining up against that, I think the new rig and Blackjack's obviously made a big difference and helped those guys out a lot. And then Wild Oats has been in the shed for 2 years, so who knows what that's going to look like when it comes out.
BP knows. He's
I'm standing next to it every day.
Yeah,
but I do know. Yes. We were actually chatting about this yesterday because I'm at Woolwich, and they're already arguing about spots. So because they know the Comanche's the widest boat of all of them, so they've put her right up the end. So they know it's coming. They've all made their plans. Wild Oats is sticking to her guns. She's got her spot. And then Law Connect, well, she's just in the standard old Law Connect spot. So that's it. They've already sorted it all out.
It could be.
It's going to be tight.
It's going to be a classic Hobart,
especially once my boat gets there.
That's exactly right. I was just going to go and throw that in there, BP. That it's going to be a classic Hobart. You're going to have all the Maxis and the X2.
Possibly 2 or 3.
I mean,
it's unbelievable being next to it. The little 30. I'm sorry to change the topic, but the 30-footer next to it, it's quite cool. It's everyone comes in and sees the differences in size, and it's quite amazing.
Yeah. Oh, can we roll on to your X2 BP? Langford, are you aware of what stage he's at? Have you seen anything with BP?
I've seen a lot, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks great. I think the double-handed sailing it's got to be the future of offshore. Personally, not for me. No way. I don't want to. I'd rather be in a full team, but I think just for cost and and easiness of going, getting some good yachting in, it's so cool to see Australia kind of catch up to, I guess, the French and in the way that the double-handed sailing is going. So I think it's looks like a great boat, and looking forward to seeing it on the water.
Oh, mate, I can't wait. It's hopefully within a week away. I think a really important point to talk about double-handed sailing is that there's also the other side of it. There's going to be these events pop up that are more to sort of the general sailors' liking. Like the little events like there might be a 3-4 day event that does 50-mile, 60-mile legs. And you stop every day. You don't race effectively overnight. You'll do a blast up the coast and you'll stop somewhere. This is where it's going, the Tour de France type style of racing.
Yeah.
You get out there, you blast it for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. You pull in somewhere and you have a few beers with some mates. And I think that's where the sport's got to go. And yes, you're going to have your Hobarts, and yes, you're going to have your West Coasters and all these big races. But I think there's so much more to it than just these big races, and that's the exciting part, that Australia's finally seeing this as a discipline and not a two blokes that don't have any mates.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was quite disappointing that it was knocked out of the Olympics. I think it would have been great to have maybe a broader selection of sailors at the Olympics rather than some small guys and girls, and open it up to bigger people like ourselves.
Yep.
To be able to go and compete at the Olympics in a different discipline, and it's probably more representative of the majority of the sailing world, in yacht sailing. So it's a bit of a shame that it got booted, but I think, it might also be a good thing as well that, as you say, these smaller events can grow, and I think that's what it's about is, having good racing and, throughout the year, and not just maybe having a one-hit wonder at the end of the year.
So did you hear about our proposal for the Olympics?
Oh,
no.
Oh, no. Okay. So they were worried about the course, and Jordan loves this, and we talk about this regularly when it comes up, that the race started when the flame is lit and the race finishes when the flame is put out.
It's the only event that lasts for the whole Olympics.
And it continually crosses to them, and they're just going round and round and round. Would be just hilarious, we think. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it'd get plenty of coverage. But, I mean,
at 3 o'clock in the morning when nothing else is on.
Could be good. I mean, let's be faithful. People love it. Like, people are watching SailGP. Some of the footage from the Volvo, some of the footage from the Vendée, people watch it, and it gets big numbers. And because it looks cool now. Boats look cool now. They don't look slow anymore, you know? Like they just send spray everywhere. At every level, boats look cool, you know? Like we're at that stage where our mates can't pay us out anymore, you know? Like they just can't say, you know, you just can't look at you and just go, you know, sailing's so lame, you know? Like they just can't do that anymore, you know?
Yeah, I've got to say that the design phase we're in is good, and you know what's really cool about it? I mean, you know, you've got you know, the level of, you know, SailGP and the America's Cup, and you've got this and that, but you know, the general design officers also are producing good stuff. You know, they're putting a lot of time and effort into their own modelling, and that's where the X2s come from. I mean, the FAR office, I've worked very closely with them for the last 2 years in relation to this boat, and I think we did 700 runs of this hull to come out with what we've got. I mean, back in, you know, 50, even as little as 10 years ago, that was unheard of. But now we've got so much power, and people ask me, you know, is it going to do, you know, is the boat going to work and this and that? Well, I'll say, well, we're so finite in what we've actually designed, and everything on, even this is hull 1 at the moment, everything is tooled. And it's gone together to the millimetre. I've been blown away. I knew it was going to be quite good, but it's actually gone together perfect. And I just can't believe that this has happened to this level. It's been amazing.
Obviously, I didn't build any of the tooling then.
Yeah. No, it's good.
All right, before we roll into other news, the last thing I want to just hit on to you, Kyle, is obviously, we roll into season 3 SailGP pretty quickly. You know, it's May, isn't it? Like it's next month.
Straight into it.
So, you know, have you got time to do other stuff, or you're focused straight in on, you know, SailGP again?
Yeah, SailGP. I mean, the biggest project I've got this year is some house renovations. The missus the day I got home from San Francisco, we had 6 builders in the house. She's planning a full demolition.
Wow!
And so I think, you know, even if I won't be sailing, I'll be working. I'll be labouring for the builders.
Yeah.
So you know, unfortunately, the SailGP schedule clashes with a lot of other sailing. But
it's getting more full time, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think in maybe the next 2 years, it might even turn into a full-time gig. And so it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But, I think for this season, I had Comanche planned. We're going to do quite a bit of racing in Europe, but that's sounds, according to you guys, sounds like that might not happen. And
whoops.
And so then, I've got a bit of moth sailing. I've got a new moth, a new design, or somewhat new design, and a Polish boat, the Exploder.
Oh yeah,
and
nice people.
So keeping an eye on that. There's some nice bit of work, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, awesome boat, and the great thing about it is it's about a quarter or a third the cost of the current top boats. So it's I think it's going to be a good thing for the class. And myself, Slingsby, Goobs, have all got one. Tom Johnson's leading the development, and he's been doing that for quite some time now. And they've produced a really nice product, which is fast. And so we're going to jump on and sail those boats, and hopefully, it'll kind of prove that you don't need to spend a ridiculous amount of money to go fast, and people can, buy this boat, which is priced a lot lower and be competitive. So that's really the goal with that. So we'll be investing quite a bit of time in that this year as well.
We'll have to ask the question then, who's going to win the next Moth World?
Well, Slingsby said he's not going. So if he doesn't go, then I'm definitely going. I've been quite open with him about that. I said, mate, you sure you're not going? He's like, no, definitely not going. So, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I think the Exploder boat is going to be really good. Yeah. And TJ was in the top 10 at the last Worlds, and the boat had only been sailed a couple of days, so it's got a lot of potential. And Jakob, who owns Exploder, he's really pushing the development. And as you talked about, 700 runs on the X2, they're kind of doing that kind of level of runs on the foils, and they also did the same process with the hull shape. And so just the resource that they can put into it is really impressive. And the amount of foils that you can get through and develop is going to be cool. So that'll be a good project, and hopefully if I go there, maybe I'll have a shot. Who knows?
So what's the next big thing in moths, do you reckon? What's the most critical thing you're working on? Is it the rig or sail or the foils?
I think the foils is probably the biggest thing. I think Exploder's made a really good step with the platform aero. It's a lot cleaner, or it's quite a bit cleaner than the other boats, and they've also got the bustle. The designer Gonzalo was with American Magic, so he's kind of
Gonzalo Redondo.
He's been inspired by that.
Yep.
So I think that the performance upwind is really good, and then downwind and high speed performance really comes from the foils. And I think the good thing is that Tom Johnson and myself, we work closely with Doyle, and then Nate and then Slingsby and Goobs work with Norths. So I think it's really good that we're going to be testing against each other using different sails and different rigs, and and I think we'll be pushing each other. So hopefully, we can both Norths and Doyles can make good gains there in performance in the sails and rigs as well.
Yeah, no, it's great class. It's a great class. For some reason, I had a long chat about the bustle with someone the other day about moths. They were right at the top edge. I cannot remember who it was. Oh, actually, I know who it was. Yeah, I'll say that because we'll probably have him on the show in a week or two, so we'll bring that one back. But all right. Well, what we might do now, Kyle, you can stay with us for another 15 more minutes, can't you?
Yeah, no worries.
You're a good man.
Going to go through to the end.
Yeah, we're going to bring him in because we've got no Bicey. Bicey's let us down. It
doesn't really go, though. Hot time with Langford.
Yeah. We might just do that. All right, let's bring in the other news. Might be a bit difficult for you, Kyle, because you might know any of this stuff, but just throw it.
Well, and he doesn't have a run sheet.
Yeah, he doesn't have a run sheet.
Come to think of it, neither do I.
You're provided with these things, my friend.
I'm only joking.
So, club event that we want to talk about. We got a great email from Jeffrey Kahn. So, international canoes. Kyle, you over the old international canoe scene?
Yeah, I love the canoe. There's actually a couple that go out in Sweden. So they're good boat.
Yeah, they're a crazy boat, aren't they?
Well, I'll let you go on about the email, but the new full carbon versions sound pretty elite.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the canoe. It has always been an elite boat. So we gave it a bit of a talk the other week, and that caused Jeff to reach out to us. And basically, I put it in club events because there's the what they're calling, just for a bit of fun, the International Canoe Super League at Lake Macquarie, 23rd and 24th of April. So if you do want to actually go and have a look at these boats, it's a great day trip. If you're in Sydney, just go up to the lake. I know most people on the lake will be interested. But he was talking about, I forgot, I knew this before, but their world champs is the second oldest sporting trophy in sailing. Like the America's Cup.
Sailing or world?
In sailing, I think.
In sailing,
yeah.
Sorry. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Either or, there's still a damn good bloody effort, isn't it?
It could be the world, because the America's Cup's the oldest event, and then the trophy they race for has been going on, so that'd be pretty cool. Win that.
Yeah.
Have you sailed one, Kyle?
No, I haven't actually, but I'd like to.
It'd be a bit sort of. I don't know how you. Every time you do a tack or a job with those things, the guys at Salem will be sailing away from you because by the time you get the bench across.
Bench seat, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, TJ and I actually did quite a lot of research into the International Canoe and how they work the plank or the bench or whatever you call it, because we wanted to put that into the moth.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how you could tack the
wing.
Yeah. But, a little bit too complicated. We're off on a tangent.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they look bloody awesome.
Yeah, and there's super.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, mate, happy to plug that one, obviously. So, but great work. The other event that's coming up, of course, this week, Easter Friday coming up, it will be the Brisbane to Gladstone. So that's a live stream. I've plugged it a couple of times on the show. If you want to watch the Brisbane to Gladstone, racing from the Queensland capital up to Gladstone, which is a town north on the way to the Whitsundays, looks like it'll be a fast race. A very fast race. The weather models have been changing non-stop. It's not stable, but
nothing stable about weather at the moment.
No. I've been watching it, but that'll be a good one to watch. I'm not sure. I think about 30-odd entries. There would no point entering to win, though, because the boat called Wistari always wins it. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. It's been sailing since Wistari has been doing the race since it started, so it's like 74. It's done about. I think it's sailed for about 50 years, and she tends to
keeps winning. Yeah, won last year. He won last year.
Yep, that's it. So yeah, that's a good one. The other one we're going to go on to is the Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. Now you'd remember Jack Lloyd, Kyle.
Yep, from the Volvo.
Yep. So we have the Listener of the Week is Patrick Parisian. I don't know how to pronounce it, Patrick, so I apologise, mate. His question
Parisian.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I should have said that. Yeah. Lucky we got you here, BP, being so talented. That's what gets me. You should be doing all the pronunciations. Okay, here's a discussion, boys. So Patrick writes, I come at it from the non-sailing background in that I've sailed radio-controlled yachts for 15 years.
He's a twiddler.
He's a twiddler. And stepped on big boats a dozen times and enjoyed it. All the big boat things apply 100% to the little ones. I think a Barcarati remote control challenge should happen.
Oh, here we go.
Question mark. Active clubs in Adelaide, Melbourne, etc. And I think they'll provide the perfect winter distraction. A lot of our local keelboat guys sail them to sharpen up on tactics and rules. I thought the reason everyone sailed twiddlers to have a good punch on the beach is what I thought.
Oh, mate, it's brutal. It is brutal.
He didn't say what class he reckons, but I like the idea of the Barcarati Twiddler Challenge.
All right.
Have you done?
Get it up and running.
I think that's a great idea.
Have you? Okay.
Well, maybe when you guys are all in town, we could do a celebrity Barcarati Twiddler challenge.
I'd be useless on a twiddler. You know, I
didn't say you were in it.
Oh, good. Yeah, all the Australians. Oh, actually, there you go, BP. You're on.
Yeah, I'm onto it. You told me that I'm good at these ideas.
Would Jason be the winner, Langford, or not?
Yeah, probably. He's well trained with his.
Could you imagine if we could get the all these sort of professional sailors when they're here for the Hobart, we'll go and do the Barcarati Twiddler challenge. They'd get a bit of coverage.
It would. It absolutely would. It's a good idea.
We could advertise our beer or something like that there.
Yeah, it's a good idea. But just that reach out, I think alone was what we chose. So Patrick, congratulations, mate. Listener of the week, great idea.
Patrick
Really enjoyed it.
And this is right about where Bicey would say you may or may not receive a merch pack in the mail.
Yep.
You may or may not receive a merch pack in the mail.
There you go. Well done, Bicey. Beautiful. Nice work.
Oh, dear. Well, then obviously what we should do then is go... Ole, 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 ole. Feeling hot, hot.
It's hot time with Langford.
He hasn't got the run shit.
No, he's got no idea. Kyle, Princess Sophia Regatta, you been watching?
Yeah, I have been actually. I'm actually in Palma at the moment.
Yeah. What
are you doing? What are you on? What are you doing on a yacht? I see in the background there.
Yeah, no, I'm cruising. We bought a boat last year, and so it was in Barcelona, so we sailed it down a couple of weeks ago to the north of Palma, and then the missus and our young fella came down, and we spent a week sitting on the marina because it was 45 knots, and we've just had 3 days of sunshine finally, and got down here and saw a bit of the racing the other day, and I mean, it's been nuclear here. You know, I think it's been a pretty tough event for the guys, and boats have been breaking. Apparently, the new 49er rigs have got a bit on. The spreaders are breaking, and so I think pitch poling and pitch polling in Palmer is probably, and the Palmer chop has not been that great and a good test for them. So it's been interesting.
Have you got any news from the regatta other than that? Have you been keeping your finger on the pulse?
Yeah, I've just been checking the results. I think the Australians have been going pretty well. I think we had young Tash Bryant sail with us in San Francisco, joining the SailGP team, and she's doing the IQ foil.
Yep.
And she's only been windsurfing for a year and a half, and she's mid-fleet, which has been pretty bloody awesome, I think. So that's pretty impressive that you can, never windsurf before, let alone foil, and then jump in with 80 boats on the line and be mid-fleet. So that's pretty awesome. I think she's going to be, after sailing with her in San Francisco, she's a very, very good sailor. So I think it'll be cool to watch how she progresses in the next 2 years.
What about so many of the classes have changed to mixed now. And so there's a whole, there's no all-male 470, there's a whole Discord now where we've got new combinations coming together. Are there any standouts that you've noticed? Like I was thinking Geordie Chummer was doing pretty well in the 470.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's probably a good thing that there's less 470s now.
How do you really feel?
I know Will Ryan won't be happy with that comment, but I think it's and also with the NACRA as well. That they've now got new rudders and elevators, and they can have differential. And so I think the cool thing is that it's just opened up the class, or the classes have changed, the 49ers with the new rigs and sails, and so I think the pecking order is going to change quite a lot. And but probably the biggest standout for me was the Italians in the NACRA. They basically won every race.
Yeah.
Still dominating.
Absolutely dominating. And, the boats are now, from what I understand, they're foiling upwind in more than 10 knots.
Yeah.
And so they're basically foiling all the way around the race course. But the Italians have still got a big edge, which they had at the last games. And so they've kind of carried on with that and kind of, they're getting the hang of the new rudders and the differential. And so it's cool that, the playing field's been somewhat reset in a lot of these classes, but those guys are still pretty dominant, it seems.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. I've never actually met them, so I don't know what their English skills are like, but I do have a note to try and reach out to them and get them on the show. But speaking of the NACRAs, obviously Jace and Lisa are having no luck at the moment. Do you know what's going on with them?
Yeah, I mean, on the last night in San Francisco, we all got a little bit sick. So their illness has prevented them from racing, so they've been feeling a bit under the weather.
Right.
So unfortunately they haven't been able to race in every race, and they've gotten out there for maybe one race a day, but the energy levels are low, so they're just kind of preserving themselves. But talking to Jace, it sounds like they're somewhat happy with despite the scorecard saying D and C and then some kind of high scores, they're saying the performance seems okay, so they'll be in the mix come the next regatta, I think.
Okay, cool. All right, good one indeed. Just as a side note, lads, Anne-Marie Rindham, Olympic gold medalist.
What's the note here?
I just wandered down because there's the windinging thing on at Mooloolaba this weekend, and I'll race down to the Gold Coast to try and catch my nephew at the Australian Surf Lifesaving Champs, and then I'll race back up to try and catch. And apparently Anne-Marie was sailing today. I think she's gone kite falling. So so I'll see if I can find her tomorrow. But just floating around in little sunny old Mooloolaba. So because she wasn't in San Fran, she's part of the Danish team in the SailGP. She wasn't there, so. Interesting rumour.
I thought you referenced your nephew, and I thought you were going down that path, that there was something going on with Anne-Marie Rindham and your nephew.
No.
Okay.
That's a good one,
right.
though. I like that.
Move
I
on.
like that rumour.
Move on.
All right. Cool. Pittwater to Coffs. Blackjack setting a new record. Perfect conditions, just smoking downwind. As you said, Kyle, She's on form again at the moment. So Pittwater to Coffs Harbour is one of the races up the coast. You done that, Cole?
No, I haven't actually, but it looked like a good run for those guys anyway.
Law Connect was all set to go. I was at Woolwich, and it was looking touch and go there for a bit with the owners. They got themselves some COVID. Owner, the son and the daughter, I think, or the wife. I don't know who was going, but I quickly was in there to put my hand up, and was looking pretty good for a ride. With obviously Tony Mutter was here, getting it all sorted, and then basically the day before the race, the whole lot got pulled.
Tony Mutter's the bad luck, I think. Like every time he turns up, the things go to custard. No.
One thing that's really good to mention is that, and I think you'll find they'll do this probably for the Sydney to Southport if they do it, is that they were gonna 24-hour live stream.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And by the way, Tony, I was only joking, mate. Love you, bud.
We love you, Tony. 24-hour live stream of the race. So that would be super cool to actually log on at any time of the day and see what's going on. Obviously, if it would be good if it was enough wind the whole time, but a couple of races we've had to anchor up in that race, so that wouldn't be exciting.
No. Anyway, all right, but good one there. So Pittwater Coffs, all those races heading up the coast towards Hamo, are on, so that's cool. SailGP new recruits for Switzerland. Have you seen that, Kyle, at all? Did you see any of that?
Yeah, no, I saw that they've got Stu Bithell and Jason Saunders.
What do you reckon?
Be good additions to the team, I think.
Yep.
But interesting though, because Stu sailed the boats before as a flight controller, and Jason's been on the boats as a wing trimmer. So it's interesting that they've not in those positions.
But as you said earlier, it's nice to have that sort of broader experience. It could work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they're, new position to learn, but I think for sure, they'll be able to rely on their knowledge in their other areas to help their new ones.
The Canadian team.
He's thinking.
The Canadian team. Any rumours?
Any rumours?
Anything?
Well, yeah. I mean, the first two events of the season, one team will have to sit out. One of the existing teams will have to sit out.
Yep.
And the Canadians will be using their boat because the 10th boat won't be completed in time.
Do we know which team? Do we know which team?
There's strong rumours. I don't know, but I've heard it's either the Japanese or the Spanish.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And I don't know how they decide that, but it'll be interesting if it is the Spanish and Phil gets his old boat back. I think they've got I'm pretty sure they've got a full Canadian team because they're not counted as and I think with each SailGP team you're allowed one non-national on each team unless you're granted dispensation as being a developing country. And so I don't think Canada has been given that. So I think it will be filled with some Canadian Olympic sailors.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, that one. I've got a lot of hopes for that team. I've got a lot of hopes for some volatility coming out of that team, some comments. They're going to be good for the banter. I think the owner will agitate.
Which is a good point, Jay, with the banter we enjoyed the banter level.
It's ramping up. SailGP have definitely listened to Baccarati, where we said bring the banter. But I'm hoping that all these teams shine. I'm just intrigued how they're all going to play out, but they're heavily backed. It's a great event. Can't wait. I'm just I'm into it in a big way.
Righto, let's move on.
All right. Well, the last one is Francois Gabard and his old team. All the shitstorm that's going on. The boys from Tip and Shaft had a bit of a discussion. You guys got your head across this one at all?
I haven't had
not fully, to be honest.
But I think I said off air that I must be involved if there's controversy. So that's all I said to that. All I know is that it's just gone bad.
Yeah. Well, so they've gone on the I don't know what he calls it, the Lazatig, on his old team. Basically, they've gone a real flush deck whole thing, and it's, if you imagine like the Vendée that Alex Thompson has, everything's underneath. It's all in cockpit, and there's a rule involved that says you can't have winches under deck. And
if there's a rule that states that and he's done it, then
what is under deck? Like it's what define the deck? You know, like that's.
Oh, now we're going down that path, are we?
Well, it just seems pointless. You know, like I'm. So.
Well, why don't we say when we go? Well, why don't we say what's a template?
No, with Alex Thompson, right? So if you visualize Alex Thompson's boat, right, you've got the cockpit, the deck, the cockpit comes all the way.
Coach roof.
The coach roof comes all the way back, right?
And the deck is underneath that.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm getting what you're saying.
My point.
I'm hearing what you're laying down.
Yeah. So because these old teams are so extreme, they're basically just taking everything down below a little bit and
below a little bit.
Well, yeah, you can't. Yeah.
I like your definition, your technical definition. Is that what you say when you go to the jury room? We just took it all down below a little bit.
All right. Well, go and look at some of the other coach roofs and see where the bloody winches are on those as well. So it just seems a bit stupid to me. Like the boat's a sailing boat, it's an old team, you know. I don't think it's giving any advantage. Can you think of any advantage apart from staying dry and not getting washed off? That's the question I don't.
There's the windage point. I mean,
yeah.
Kyle, you'd know the answer to this. I mean, the windage is massive at those speeds.
I think I've actually been on that boat. Well, when it was in the shed before it was completed, and to me, it's just a complete other level, to the other boats out there. And I think the biggest thing that these guys are trying to do is end plate the main and the jib to the deck,
right,
and get a nice seal. And I think if you look at all the other boats, you can see the coach roofers at the back, or, Sedebo, they've got it at the front. And, you think of the air traveling across the deck and it's just getting tripped up by these, these big surfaces and coach roofs that the air's got to get over. And so I think what they've done with Gabart's boat is really, really smart and makes a lot of sense because they can get a perfect seal on the jib to the foredeck and also a really nice seal on the mainsail, to the coach roof. And, I think it's taken it to another level. Comfort factor, you think that, being down below and being nice and dry is going to be a nice thing. But after sailing in a mocha, down below, I can tell you it's, I'd rather be standing at a steering wheel and, getting 8-meter waves thrown at me than be down below. It's bloody uncomfortable, and the vomit comet. So I think, I think it's a really good performance step. But I think in terms of comfort, I think it's going to be horrible for the guys to sail. And, the visibility is obviously low and your accuracy and trimming and so on is compromised. But, I think that performance gain on the aero is really what they were going for. And, it'd be a shame.
But surely they've read the rule. I mean, surely they've got an answer for the questions. But, obviously the others are either got egg on face because they missed it or they're just, they're saying, well, we've got to stop this. Otherwise, it's going to continue down this path.
Maybe you'd struggle to believe that they're going to spend 20 million euro on a boat and not read the rules, and have a good it's hard to believe that they could, that they'd miss, something so fundamental, but who knows? I hope not.
Maybe Jay's got the rule in there. You can just have it a little bit below deck.
It's interesting. I think, it's good having you on the show giving actually intelligent answers rather than idiot answers that we've just given. So, there's some good points there. I don't like seeing boats taken out of racing, I want to just see boats race. So what's the next big event? The Guadalupe event. That's probably in about 4 or 5 months is what they've sort of got to sort it out. And from memory, I think the rule number that they breached was rule 4.3. So you got no real excuses. It's it's right up the top of the bloody page.
it's like just below number 3. It's right there.
So I don't know. It's
okay. I like that. Well, you reckon that they're illegal?
I don't.
I'm just asking. If they've got.
I'd let them race.
They've missed rule 4.3. I mean, come on, lads.
Anyway, oh well, I don't know.
You can sort of be excused with rule 26.7 Appendix A.
Yeah, they're not cheating because the boat's not painted white.
Yeah.
My theory, Kyle, if you got a boat painted white, you're a cheat. You're cheating somehow. Because that picks up most people at the moment. Oh, dear. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I think that's it.
Done.
I think
Well
that's
done,
it.
Aussie.
What are you doing for the rest of the day in Palma, mate? You going to pick up anchor and go out, or?
No, we're leaving here tomorrow. Actually, we're going to Barcelona, so we've got a 100-mile delivery. The missus' first offshore and the little fella's first offshore trip.
Nice.
So just do a bit of boat prep. I've had JH down here, John Hildebrand. He's the boat captain, so he's going to come over and give it a little once-over, little tickle for us.
Yeah.
And we'll be off tomorrow. So yeah, taking it easy today.
It's just the three of you going?
Yeah, just the three of us. Yeah. So I'll be awake for 24 hours.
Because I've mentioned on the show a few times that all I think about is cruising boats these days, and with part of my program of convincing my wife, who's never been offshore, it's time to do it, is that we'll only ever sail downwind. We never have to sail upwind. So make sure you try and that's probably the best way to introduce your wife into going offshore, mate. Is just a downwinder.
Yeah, well, she's not a sailor, and I've said that every time. We've done maybe 200 miles or so, and I think maybe 10 of those have been downwind. The rest of it's been bashing upwind.
Oh, moron.
And yeah, so I'm walking a fine line here. I've got to, I'm hoping this trip goes well because it's borderline at the moment.
Yeah,
this time of year it's still very unstable there. I mean, you could have nothing or northerlies. So
yeah,
you've got to make sure you don't get the northerlies.
No, nothing is good. Happy with nothing.
Yep.
Cool. Hey, Langford, mate, it's been unreal. Like you've just added so much professionalism to the show. It's embarrassing.
The next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm a little bit disappointed that there hasn't been much talk about the Bice Commodore or the Landy.
Got another 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, the Bice Commodore and Land Rovers. Yeah, Jesus, they're.
Well, hey, did you see the post today?
No.
I don't know if you saw it. Oh, well, when it comes up, everyone will get a glimpse of this one. There's a Land Rover, not a Defender. It's a new model one. It's parked. It's found itself in a creek, and it's underneath a bridge, wedged, and the water's just flowing through it. It's not going out.
Oh.
It's stuck in there.
I think the Bice.
Good for heaps.
The Bice Commodore
that actually came to my messenger via Barkarati, so I better pass that on.
Yeah, do that.
Send it to you as well, Kyle, because you're a part of the team now.
I think the Bice Commodore's obviously he's got the kid issues tonight, but tomorrow morning, first thing, he's on a flight to Perth where he's going to, as he described it to me, he's going to pick up a boat for a mate, a power boat, and he'll be at sea from tomorrow. And I said, "Oh wow, where are you going?" He said, "Rottnest Island."
You're like an hour delivery.
Anyway, but yeah, no, we didn't pick on him too much. We didn't actually lay too much blame onto any of the other colleagues as well. We did put the boot into Jace a little bit. We'll get Kinley on.
I think it was a good show. I think it was a good chat.
Yeah, it was great. You made it. It was the best show, mate. You're a legend.
Thanks for having me. And also, seriously, Kinley is, he's starting to get a bit offended because, the episodes are getting up now and he still hasn't had the call up. So it might be worth shooting him a message because
we were waiting
desperate.
We were waiting for episode 666 for Kinley.
Or maybe just make him wait.
No, mate. It's not personal, but we're trying to balance. We've been too heavy with the Aussie stuff, but I mean, the SailGP stuff had to be told. Like the detail that you gave was great. So and everything.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Very good.
Days.
Bloody good. Well, listen, have a safe trip across to Barcelona, mate. Make sure you choose your weather and plan your passage. It's not like a SailGP race, okay? Got to plan these.
Yeah, copy that. Cheers, guys.
All right.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye, everyone.